What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to From The Bench Vols. I'm your host, Will Meadows, and welcome to our Friday edition of the show. We have a lot of Tennessee football to talk about once again. On today's show, we've talked a lot about defense in the two prior episodes this week. This is our third episode this week. The other two this week, we've talked a lot about the defensive side of the football, and rightfully so, man. Tennessee's going to have another one of the best defenses in college football this year. But today I want to focus on the offensive side of the football and kind of just imagine a dream scenario of what this offense will look like, who will be the biggest contributors, and all that and more on this Friday edition of From The Bench Vols. But before we get into any of that, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment, share it. Anything you guys do with it will be greatly appreciated. And also, today on Locked On Vols, we've had Eric Kane on the show before, but go check out Locked On Vols episode today on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. I appeared on it today for one of his segments, so kind of a big deal for me. Obviously, he's been on here before, but going on his show, it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Tennessee podcast there is, and his show is kind of what inspired me to make my own. So that was a pretty big deal to me, so I would greatly appreciate if you guys go check out his show and subscribe to him as well. But let's get right into it, obviously. So like I said, we've talked a lot about defense the last two episodes, but today we want to focus on offense and kind of talk about a dream scenario because obviously there's a lot up in the air right now. There's going to be the first 11-on-11 scrimmage. It won't be anything that you can watch or anything like that, but we'll hear from Josh Heupel after the scrimmage, and you'll start to see some separation in depth chart and who's your starters and who's not after this first 11-on-11 scrimmage tomorrow. And obviously, the big question is quarterback. I think up to this point, I feel like the coaching staff felt like they'd have a little better of an understanding on who they thought was their guy. I don't think that they have much of an opinion on who their guy is right now. Obviously, I'm not behind closed doors, but I feel like this week they'll start to have some more separation on who's your guy. I definitely, at least with Jake Merklinger and Joey Aguilar kind of separating themselves for George McIntyre. I definitely think G-Mac is the third guy in this kind of QB battle. Not a knock on him at all, but obviously way less experienced than the other two guys. But I think that there will be some more separation there, so it'll be interesting to see what Josh Heupel has to say after that. But just all around the offense, you want to hear good things about the receivers and the tight ends. The tight ends, man, we've talked about it a couple times this week, but Desan Brame and Jack Van Dortelaar are two freshman tight ends. Tight end is one of those odd positions where, in my opinion, outside of quarterback, I think it's the hardest position to transition from high school to college. Because if you are a Division I, if you are a tight end caliber of playing at the University of Tennessee or really anywhere in the SEC, then you're not blocking much in high school. You're probably a matchup nightmare in high school. So, you come to the SEC and you're asked to block these defensive linemen 5 yards down the field. It's a big jump. It's a big jump on a physicality standpoint. Not so much if you can catch the ball or get open, but can you block? Because obviously the run game is a huge thing, especially in this SEC and especially in Tennessee's offense where they implemented so much 12 personnel starting last year, and I think that there's going to be a lot of 12 personnel this year, especially with kind of the thin receiver group this year. Receiver's another one that you're going to want to hear a lot of good things about in this 11-on-11 scrimmage, just because, Jermod McCoy's not playing, who is the best defensive back in America, but you want to hear some good things about these receivers in a game-like setting because we haven't heard necessarily a ton of good things about these receivers as fall camp has come along. We've heard good things about Rodarius Jackson and Travis Smith Jr., those guys not looking like freshmen, not acting like freshmen, not built like a freshman. So hearing some good things from other guys, like a Mike Matthews, obviously, he's been a little banged up. But I think that, to my knowledge, he's going to play. Was banged up a little bit with his knee. Braylon Staley, it'll be interesting to see how much he is a factor in the scrimmage, on how much he will play, just since he's had a little lingering issue with injuries. And then Chris Brazzell, I doubt he would play, just because, to my knowledge, again, he hasn't been a participant. Again, I'm not behind closed doors, so who knows. But I expect to hear some good things about receivers and hope to hear about some good things, about the receivers coming out of this first 11-on-11 scrimmage. But, like I said, we want to kind of envision what best case scenario this offense will look like this year and kind of break down what I think the depth chart could look like, I guess, in a way. I think the quarterback would be Joey Aguilar, man. I hope to hear some separation in that quarterback battle and favor of Joey Aguilar. I think that he's your best bet just with so many more collegiate snaps. If Jake Merklinger is the better guy, so be it. I think Josh Heupel is going to put his best foot forward and put the best guy out there. But I'm just a consistent quarterback. I guess I won't even say a name. Just consistent quarterback play. You don't need anybody to be a world beater, man. You don't need anybody to go hang 50 points like Hendon Hooker and company used to do. Just somebody who's not going to screw it up for you. Obviously, last year, Nico just kind of didn't mess up, didn't screw up. He didn't go out and win us games, but he didn't screw up. And this year, I think that this defense will be better than it was last year. And I know that that's kind of surprising given how good that defense was last year, but I think Tennessee's defense will be just as good, if not better, than it was last year. So just a consistent option at quarterback. I don't want it to be one of those things where you're 4 games into the year and the fan base is wanting the backup. So I guess that's really your dream scenario, which I guess the standard's kind of low, unfortunately, but I just hope that you're not 4 games to the year and the fan base is wanting Merklinger or they're wanting Aguilar, or whoever's not starting. After that receiver position, I think your 3 guys this year are going to be Chris Brazzell, Braylon Staley in the slot, and then Mike Matthews. I think that it's not a secret. There's not a ton of depth at that position. We've talked this week already. Tennessee has a track record of having lingering issues at that position. We talked about it last year. Dante Thornton, Squirrel White, Brew McCoy, all injury-prone guys. The year before that, Brew McCoy was hurt. Cedric Tillman was hurt. Jalen Hyatt and Hendon Hooker's year. They just always seem to have somebody banged up, unfortunately. And that doesn't help, having a thin receiving core at that. Behind those 3 guys, I think Boo Carter, that's one of those things that I'm going to have to see it to believe it. I think that he's definitely going to contribute a little bit on offense, but mainly as a just get the ball in his hands. I don't think you're going to go tell Boo to go line up out wide. But Radarius Jackson and Travis Smith are going to be guys that are going to have to step up for the Vols, regardless of how old they are. They're going to be freshmen, but they're going to be forced to step up for the Vols this year. Tight end, man. I think that you're going to see kind of a scenario where they're so deep at the position. We've heard great things again about Desan Brame, Jack Van Dorselaer. Obviously, Ethan Davis has some experience. Miles Kitselman, the proven leader on this football team, coming off of an injury. When he gets back, I think you could really see somebody take on a Princeton Fant role. Princeton Fant ended up doing anything. He would kind of play receiver a little bit, some play fullback, play tight end. He was everywhere his last year in orange and white. I think you could see that with maybe an Ethan Davis or, again, one of those freshmen. So I think that tight end group, you're going to see a lot of 12, 13 personnel. And a lot of running the football down people's throat. And whether that's entertaining to you or not, if it wins football games, it wins football games. And I think that Josh Heupel's going to do whatever's going to win him football games. It may not be the flashiest. We set ourselves a very high standard as fans. We got spoiled by Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt. But that kind of brand of smash mouth football, especially with what I think is going to be a very productive O-line and a running back room who is really 3 deep, not 3 guys who you could say, yeah, I can throw them out there. 3 guys who have a case to be the running back 1 on this football team. So I think the tight end situation is the best situation and position group on this offensive side of the football. I think that they're deep, and I think they're very versatile. I think they bring a lot of different things. Desan Brame is a matchup nightmare. 6'4", big frame, more of a vertical threat. And then a guy like Miles Kitselman, more of a possession guy, not going to kill you after the catch at all. But I just think they're a versatile group. Miles Kitselman is also a good blocker. And we'll see with Jack Van Dorselaer. Obviously, 3 touchdowns in the orange and white game. Take that for what you will. But I'm very excited to see what this tight end group brings. And then kind of I guess this is my only prediction of the video, just of what the offensive line is going to look like. I think your right tackle is going to be David Sanders, the former number 1 offensive tackle in the country. Will be a true freshman this year, but we talked about it before, man. Reports say that he's put on 30 to 35 pounds. A guy who has got here and has been a sponge, has soaked up every opportunity, and just all you want to see from a guy who, no beating around the bush, you spent a lot of money on. He is a very, very highly touted recruit. Great things from the program about David Sanders. I think he's going to be your starting right tackle. At the right guard position, I think it's going to be Wendell Moe, the transfer out of Arizona 2 years ago with second team All Pac-12, a guy who was very productive at Arizona. I think he's going to come here and be very productive as well. Center is where it gets interesting because William Satterwhite was your starter in the spring. But there's obviously Sam Pittleton could very well be your starter as well at center. I think they're going to move that around. Left guard's also going to be moved around. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with that center position, which will also lead to what will they do at the left guard position. I think that if William Satterwhite is your center, that Sam Pittleton will be your left guard, but Sam Pittleton could also very well be your center this year. And then at left tackle, we've got big boy Lance Hurd, a guy who I am very excited to see. No one ever talks about how excited they are to see offensive tackles. I think that Lance Hurd is set up to have a big year too. Another guy who was a 5-star prospect coming out of high school, committed to LSU, was a 5-star transferred to Tennessee, battled injuries all of last year, had a procedure in July before the season started last year, battled injuries all throughout the year. He talked a little bit about that at Media Day. I think Lance Hurd, like he said, his quote was, "It's night and day compared to what it was last year." So I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table. So that's kind of the personnel side of things. But what do I think that this is going to look like from a what is your identity standpoint? I just touched on it a little bit. I think that this is going to be another year of ground and pound and run the ball until they can stop you, man. And set up the run and let that set up your passing game with play action and RPOs and things of that nature. Your receivers are just going to have to create separation. And I talked about this on Eric's show today. I just think that last year, everybody, wants to blame Joey Halzle for the play calling, and it's not as much big plays down the field. And while that's definitely true, it seemed like we ran a post every dang play with Jalen Hyatt, which he didn't, but it just seemed like there was a big play every set of downs with that year of Tennessee football. And again, we spoiled ourselves as fans. They spoiled us. Excuse me. But I think it's going to be smash mouth football. Let the running game set up your pass game, and guys are going to have to get open, and the quarterback's going to have to connect with receivers. Joey Aguilar has a track record of being able to throw the deep ball. That's kind of the question with Jake Merklinger is, can he throw the deep ball? So, again, I think we're going to see a lot of that in the 11-on-11 setting, but I'm excited to see what that looks like. What I was saying with last year, Nico just couldn't connect on those deep balls, man. Was the play calling maybe a little more stale than it had been in years prior? Yes. But you can't tell me that there weren't multiple chances a game for a big play down the field, because there very much was. They were just left out there. Whether it was the receiver's fault for not getting enough separation, whether it was Nico underthrowing or overthrowing, it kind of was all in the air. He overthrew a lot last year, but even times in the Vanderbilt game, severely underthrew guys. So regardless of who the name is, who's catching it, who's throwing it, you just got to be able to connect on those 1 or 2 deep balls a game, man. You don't need to throw one every possession, but if you can create a big play out of play action by setting up the run and being able to get one down the field, that's going to have to be your bread and butter this year. It's not going to be go, and play action and just dart one down the field. The running game is going to set this up. Star Thomas, Peyton Lewis, and Deshaun Bishop are going to be your bread and butter this year. They are going to be the biggest playmakers on this offense because, again, regardless of there may not be Dylan Sampson back there, but this running game, I think, is going to be one of the best in the SEC. And if you're one of the best in the SEC, what do I always say? You're one of the best in the country because the SEC is obviously the best conference in college football. I don't care what anybody has to say about that. I feel like most people watching this show would agree with that, but obviously there's the Big Ten people out there. If you're one of the best in the SEC, you're one of the best in the country. And I think Tennessee's going to have one of the best run games in the country. So that's kind of how I feel about the offense on what they need to do and who I think will be your guys this year. I've talked about it time and time again. I would just love to see, more than anything, to see a big year from Mike Matthews. I've been on the Mike Matthews hype train for over a year now. I was saying every week on this show leading up to games that I would love to see a Mike Matthews breakout game. I've been pro Mike Matthews since the dude arrived on campus. I would love to see a big year out of him because one of those guys is going to have to be the alpha. I feel like last year Dante Thornton wasn't an alpha by any means, but he was your clear-cut best receiver. Maybe some people could maybe make a case for Brew McCoy. You guys know how I feel about Squirrel White. No. But Dante Thornton was your best receiver last year. You need a guy who's your clear-cut best receiver. And I'm not even saying you need an alpha in that room, just because, again, I think it's going to be so run-based in this offense. But, man, you'd love to have a guy who, when it's 3rd and 8, this ball's going to Chris Brazzell, or this ball's going to Mike Matthews. Who is your go-to target in a situation like that? I just feel like that's what we've lacked really the last 2 years. Because after the year after Hendon Hooker and all that with Joe Milton, you kind of thought Ramel Keaton was going to take a big step. He showed flashes, playing in a lot of snaps and meaningful games with Cedric Tillman being injured the year before. He just didn't work out like that. Last year, Squirrel White it just didn't work out like that. Obviously, Dante Thornton was your best receiver again, but it just didn't work out like that, where it was 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and you need to move the chains, and you're going to run a dig for said guy. I would love to see Mike Matthews be that guy, but if it's not him, man, Chris Brazzell as the other guy out wide who I'd love to see it with. And Braylon Staley, I think, is going to have a big year this year because more times than not in a Josh Heupel-based offense, that slot receiver is very, very productive. So that's just kind of what I have to say about that. Just would love to see, and I'd love to hear it coming off of this weekend, hearing what Josh Heupel has to say after the 11-on-11 scrimmage, who your guys are, and some separation, literally and figuratively, from the receivers. Separation from DBs and separation from each other on who your guys are. Because right now, and not hating at all, again, I'm not behind closed doors. It just seems like a lot of meh, and they don't really know. And you hear good things about these freshmen, but you want to hear who is going to be your guy. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to hear and what I think it's going to look like this year. But you guys let me know how you feel about it in the comments. I think that is going to wrap it up for today's episode. It's, again, been a busy week. This is the last, oh my goodness, I didn't even say anything about it. The last episode in this beautiful setup holds a lot of memories to me. I know it may not be that serious to some people, but just where it all started, we will have a new episode or a new backdrop next episode. And if anybody who works at Walmart is watching this, we've got a personal beef because a little sneak peek of what said background is going to look like in my dorm room. It's going to be 3 pictures, and I can't really. This camera is going to be a lot closer to my face, which I hope you guys are okay with that, with my beautiful face. But there's going to be 3 pictures. There's going to be one right here, and one right here. So it's going to be a vertical picture, 2 horizontals, if you can kind of envision that. The long one, the vertical one, is going to be a picture that I took inside of Neyland Stadium. It's got the Vols letters at the top of the stadium in the background. It's just kind of a sunset, a really cool picture in my opinion. And then your 2 sideways, horizontal pictures, I don't know why I said sideways. It's a picture of me, my roommate, who's my best friend, and Omar Norman Lott, that some photographer got a picture of us when we rushed the field last year against Alabama. And then I'm a big Celtics fan. I went to the finals last year, so it's a picture I took inside of the arena after they won it all, and it's like the confetti bursting inside the arena. I think it's a really cool picture, and I like to, obviously this is a Tennessee podcast, but I am a fan of all sports, college football, NFL, NBA, and I like to kind of add that thing that's just a little about me. Obviously not Tennessee, but it's the Celtics. I took the picture. I just think it's really cool. But the problem with the Walmart is the 2 horizontal pictures are here. I ordered the vertical picture. I'm just going to be honest, a little behind the scenes since it's the last one here. This is how big it's going to look. It's a big old picture, man. A very, very big picture. 24 by 36. 2 feet. 2 feet by 3 feet. This is not very professional, but again, I'm very sentimental about this beautiful background. And I ordered the vertical picture for said picture. The vertical, I have the frame, sorry. I ordered the picture online, and it was delivered to my home yesterday, and I pull out of the box, and it's crumpled. Like, it looks like somebody just grabbed it and squeezed the picture like this. So that's, like, unusable. So I had to go and return it. So I won't have that for the first episode. The first episode is going to look half done, which, if you know me, that just grinds my gears real bad. So next episode's not going to be the full new setup, but the one after that very well should be, as long as Walmart doesn't mess it up again. But again, you guys aren't here for all that about me. I just wanted to share that with you, kind of give you a sneak peek of what the next one's going to look like. But I appreciate you guys for joining me on this Friday edition of From the Bench Vols. I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Again, go check out Eric Kane's Locked On Vols on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, and go listen to that. I'm on one of the segments. I would greatly appreciate if you guys go do that. Give him a follow, a subscribe, all that. And again, make sure you guys subscribe, like the video, comment, all that good stuff. Again, I appreciate you guys for joining me on this Friday morning. A big change to the background, but we're moving into Tennessee, baby. Let's go, a freshman at the University of Tennessee. But again, that wraps it up for today's episode. I greatly appreciate you guys for joining me, and go Vols.